Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you guys my lupus story. I did look on YouTube and I saw other people sharing their stories, and I always knew that everybody's lupus journey is a little bit different. Everybody doesn't always go through the same, journey. And I just wanted to share with you guys my story and hopefully give you a little bit more insight into what lupus is and things that you could possibly go through, because this is just my journey, and like I said, everybody's journey is different. So yeah. I guess I'll start from the beginning. My name is Stephanie. I am 34 years old and I was diagnosed with lupus at the age of 18. So basically what happened was, and I'm gonna explain what I think kind of triggered it, or when it actually started versus when I actually got diagnosed, because there's a big gap. There's a big gap, not a huge time gap, but there's a big gap between when I first probably started having symptoms and when I actually finally figured out what the heck was going on with my body. And I'm a little bit winded today, so that's the lupus symptom of the day. But so basically, what I think triggered it was my senior year of high school. Around Christmas time, I remember getting really sick. And when I say really sick, like I had it felt like the flu, and I never really had the flu, so I didn't know what it was. But whatever it was, it put me down bad, because I was working, part-time at KFC, going to school. I was president of the hospitality club. I was president of the dance club. Like, I had so much going on. And it really put me down for a while. So eventually my mom was like, okay, something's going on. This isn't going away. Let me take her to the clinic, see what they can do, see if they can figure out what was going on with me. Ooh. And indigestion is another thing. So she took me to the clinic. The guy did some blood work, and he was like, oh, it's just a really bad cold and your body needs a boost to help you get over the hump of being sick. And I was all for it at the time, because I was tired of being sick. I was drained. I was exhausted all the time. I couldn't work. I couldn't do nothing that I wanted to do. So I went ahead with it, and he gave me a B12 shot. Now, I know that B12 is a vitamin and yada, 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 whatever. But I personally feel like that was around the time when my lupus probably first started. But took the shot, and I wasn't sick anymore. Fast forward to the summer after I graduated. So this is 6 months later. I started college, and I was going to college, and I was doing, my thing, and weeks passed by. I turned 18, and the next thing I know, my hair started falling out. And I had, at the time, my hair was relaxed. So my hair was, I want to say about here. So maybe a little bit higher than bra strap length. And I was combing my hair one day, and as I'm brushing my hair, I started seeing like more hair coming out than usual. And I didn't think nothing of it, because our hair sheds. So I kept brushing my hair, days would go by. And then eventually I started to notice that I had a bald patch. So that freaked me out. So I went to my mom and I told him, like, hey, my hair kind of was coming out for a couple of, weeks. And, it wasn't a big deal. But now I noticed, I'm getting bald spots. So that's when it started. So in August of 2003, my mom started taking me to different hospitals, different doctors, trying to figure out what was going on with me. One doctor thought it was, I think he thought it was stress, or he thought it was sickle cell related. I don't have sickle cell. The only person that had sickle cell, or it was a sickle cell trait, was my brother. So they, they did their things, and then that's when I started noticing that my eyebrows started to thin. And I went to one doctor, and he was like, well, we can give you these shots in the spots where you're missing hair to get the hair, kickstart the hair going back. So, me being a teenager, I didn't know, my mom didn't know, what questions to really ask. We did it. So he put, shot in my eyebrows, shot in all the spots in my hair, because I think I had like maybe 4 or 5 different bald spots throughout my head. Um, it got so bad, and looking back now at the pictures, I don't know what I was thinking, but in my mind, it makes sense. So what I would do to be able to still put my hair in a ponytail and try to cover up as many of the bald, because it was bad. It got to a point where I needed a wig, and I would take the eyebrow pencil for the bald spot that was in the front and fill it in hopes that people would think, oh, it's just gel. I would gel the rest of my hair, and then I would color that part in. And I looked a hot mess, but it was okay because at the time it made me feel good. Just trying to cover up, bald spots and while trying to figure out like what the heck is going on with my body. So fast forward from August until the end of, I want to say the end of March. My mom was taking me to every doctor she could possibly think of. We got referrals to see other doctors. Just trying to figure out what the heck was going on with my body. Keep in mind, the only symptoms I was having up until this point was my hair was falling out right towards the end of 2003. I'm jumping back a little bit. That's when I started experiencing the joint pain, the swelling. It was so bad that I would be in so much pain that I would be bawling. Like I would have to get off work early. My sister would have to come get me. She'd take me straight to the hospital. And it was horrible in the beginning. And I still didn't know what the heck was going on. So of course you go, they're going to give you pain medicine and they give you something with the swelling. And it doesn't really, it's just a band-aid because it's not telling you, okay, well, this is what's wrong with you. And that's kind of like the frustrating part because you just want to know, it's the point where you don't even care if there's not even a cure for what you have. You just want to know what is going on with your body. And that's kind of where I was towards the end of March 2004 because it's been all these months and we still don't know what's wrong with me. And I started to feel like, well, maybe it's all in my head, but then it can't be in my head because I'm in so much pain that I can't even move. Like I need help. I need my sister to pick me up off the damn floor and take me to the hospital because I can't move. I'm in so much pain. So the last doctor I went to in March was a dermatologist because at that time I started getting like these skin lesions. They were red and they would be hot and they would itch like crazy and I didn't know what it was. And at this point I was just so frustrated and so tired and just over it. So keep in mind I had bald spots in my head and I had one behind this ear, I'll never forget. And I don't even know what it looks like back there, so I don't even know if I could show you because it's hair there now. But he was like, I think I know what it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a skin biopsy if it's cool with you. You take a little piece of the skin from that particular spot since it's hidden and send it off to the lab and then we'll figure out what, hopefully we'll be able to tell you what's going on. So at this point I'm like, okay, cool. Now I possibly can figure out, finally, I have a doctor that maybe knows what's going on and now I can finally put a name or figure out like what has been going on with my body for these last for this last year basically at this point. Test results came back and that's when he was like, okay, it's exactly what I thought it was. It's lupus. So now in my mind I'm like, yes, I know what's wrong with me. I'm not crazy. Okay, cool. What do I gotta do? Because I'm thinking, okay, lupus, I've never heard of it at that point. I had never ever heard of the word lupus before in my life at that point. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, we know what it is now. He knows what it is now. There's a cure. He's going to give me some medicine. I'm going to take it for a little bit. And that's it. I ain't got nothing to worry about. Boom, we know what it is finally. Yes, finally. I didn't think I was gonna cry. Gotta do the Wendy Williams trick real quick. So, because I didn't think I was gonna cry doing this shit. Boy, I could tell you, emotions are a motherfucker, ain't it? You guys, I promise you I'm not crazy, but to have been in this journey for so long and finally be like remembering where I was, remember where I came from versus where I am now, is like, it's crazy. Let me try to speed this up because I've been rambling for like 10 minutes and now my ass is crying. So I went home. He gave me some medicine for, I guess this was been for my skin. It was a prescription cream. It was greasy as hell, and I slathered that bitch all over my face because I was like, you know, I don't even know what I was thinking, but I guess that must have helped me not have scarring because of the fact that I did that. So at the time he gave me some kind of cortisone, prescription cortisone cream, and that's when I started taking Plaquenil. And for anybody who has lupus, you know what Plaquenil is. And I started taking 200 milligrams. It was either three times a day or 2 times a day. I can't remember because it's been so long ago. And I started taking that for a while. And I didn't fully do enough research, so I was kind of just like, okay, well, the doctor wants me to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this. I set my alarms, and I was taking my medication like clockwork. Fast forward to December of that same year, I ended up going to the hospital because even though I was taking this medication that they gave me, it still wasn't keeping my symptoms under control. I was still having episodes of being in extreme pain, not being able to move, yada, 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 whatever. December 2004, I went to the emergency room because I was in pain yet again. And I started having these chest pains that was kind of like right under your breast, but to the left, like side, right here. And I started having pain, so I went to the emergency room. And as usual, because every time I would go, because I was so young, they would automatically admit me just to make sure everything was okay and, you know, nothing else was going on with me but what they knew, which was lupus. I was in the emergency room I was admitted for 2 days and then took a turn for the worse. I don't remember half of this hospital visit. I was in the hospital for a little over a week. And I spent most of that week in the ICU because on the second night, going into the third day, I developed pneumonia. And I was in the hospital, in the ICU for that long. I barely remember a little bit because I remember I started coughing and then I went to sleep. I asked my friend, can you tell the nurse to give me a cough drop because I keep coughing. And they did that, and I guess I must have been coughing really bad while I was sleeping. You know, my oxygen levels went down while I was sleeping because next thing I know, they're like, they're wheeling you to the ICU because something's going on with your lungs. So I was like, something's going on with my lungs. And I kind of just was in and out because I was, it was so bad. I remember at one point that I was in and out of consciousness with all the medication that was pumping into me. And I remember at one point in time, I woke up and I could see through the glass because the room had like a whole glass wall where the door was. And my brother and my mom was out there talking with the doctor. And he was trying to explain to them how serious my condition was at the moment. And he put a picture of my lungs on the wall. I remember seeing it through the door. And I remember him pointing at it. And he basically was showing them that one lung looked like maybe 90% filled with liquid and the pneumonia, and the other half was like maybe at the halfway point. And I could see the whiteness in my lungs on the wall, and I knew, okay. So at that point, I blacked out again. When I say I have a purpose, and I can't wait till I figure out what my purpose is, because within a couple of days, I guess the doctor thought I wasn't gonna make it, but in a couple of days, I was up in ICU. I was, my nurse was awesome. I'll never forget her. I can't remember her name, but I remember how kind she was to me and how much she took care of me while I was in ICU. And I hated the fact when I left ICU because after that, it was like a total nightmare with the floor I ended up on, but that's neither here nor there. But I made it past that, and I'll never forget, because I got out of the hospital and they had pumped me with so much prednisone and so much medication. My cheeks were like, I was skinny as hell, but my face was like, if I could find a picture, I'll insert it, but my face was huge. So that was that. And then I think I made it through the year 2004 with minimal issues, just, joint pain occasionally. And after a while, you start getting used to it, and you start realizing, okay, well, I'm in pain, so I can do this for pain, and then, hot showers, and whatever the case was, I figured out like little ways to alleviate, so I wouldn't always be running back and forth to the emergency room every single time I ended up with a lupus flare. Fast forward to April of 2005, and I ended up in the hospital again, but this time it's because I wasn't feeling that well. And no, that's because ambassadors almost killed my ass. That's what it is. Let's back that up. Okay. So when I said ambassadors almost killed me, I ran out of my medication because I was taking prednisone, and I ran out of prednisone, and I was taking such a high dosage that if you missed the dosage, it was probably like the worst thing in the world. And I didn't know that at the time. But I had went to my doctor's appointment that day, and my doctor told me that my blood pressure was a little bit high. She wanted me to go get checked out at the emergency room. She wrote a referral. I went to the emergency room, and I had to wait because I really wasn't there for anything in particular other than the fact that my doctor sent me there. So they made me wait, and I waited, and I stayed in that emergency room for 12 hours. 12 hours. So I stayed in the emergency room for 12 hours. And when they finally saw me, the doctor was like, oh, you have high blood pressure because of whatever the medication you're taking. Here, take this pill and go home. Took the pill, went home. I went to my boyfriend's house at the time because I didn't want to go home and be home by myself. So I went over there to spend the night with him. And I remember he was like, oh, let's go get some Burger King. So I was like, all right, cool. Because, Burger King was my thing. There was only one Burger King in Miami that was the safest thing for me to go to, and he was right down the street from me. So I was like, all right, cool, let's go to BK. Went to BK, got our food. When I say I was so hungry, I ate all my food. And within 30 minutes of me eating, I start throwing up. So he starts panicking because he doesn't know what to do. So he calls my sister. She comes over, and keep in mind, I had just got the hospital earlier that day. So she puts me in her car. She takes me back to the same hospital, and they're getting ready to tell me to wait. So I'm like, damn, I don't want to wait for another 12 hours to be seen, because I just did that. I'm not trying to do that again. So she saw that I was starting to get worse, and I started feeling, worse and worse and worse. She started popping off, and the next thing I know, they're throwing me in a room, and they're checking my blood pressure. My blood pressure was dropping. So now they're trying to figure out, well, why the hell is her blood pressure dropping? So they go back, and my sister mentioned, she's like, well, she was just here earlier today, and da-da-da-da-da. And I explained to them, I was like, listen, I sat here for 12 hours, and I missed my opportunity to go pick up my medication, so I was not able to take my prednisone today. That's the only prescription that I missed. And then that's when she kind of explained to me, like, that was a bad thing to do. I should have told him. I said, well, I told the doctor that. He just gave me a blood pressure pill and took me on my way. Like, he could have easily have given me, the doses that I missed, because I was sitting here, and I wouldn't be almost on my deathbed, because you're basically telling me you gotta try to figure out how to stop my blood pressure from dropping, otherwise I'm gonna die. And I can say that like that now, but at the time I was freaking the fuck out. Like I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to do. So my mom came up there, of course, as usual, and that's when they figured out that they needed to do a kidney biopsy. They admitted me to the hospital, of course, because they wanted to monitor me and make sure everything was okay. So they did my first kidney biopsy, and that's when they figured out, oh, the lupus is affecting your kidneys. I had to do 6 cycles of Cytoxin, which is chemotherapy, and then they followed that up with Celsa, and I had to take 500 milligram tablets, and I had to take 3 in the morning and 3 at night. And I did that for a while, and then eventually it went down to 3 and 2 and 2 and 2 and then 1 and 1, and then eventually remission. I want to say this for anybody that has lupus that's looking at me. For me, my them telling me that I was in remission meant that my lupus was not active. It's not active. So I was very happy. I was like, all this hard work, because at one point I was taking 15 pills a day for a whole bunch of other stuff, too much acid in your body, you gotta take this, you gotta take multivitamin, you gotta take calcium, you gotta take plaquenil, you gotta take lisinopril for the blood pressure. I was taking so much medication that I was taking 15 pills a day. So when I got to the point when I was in remission, I was like, thank God that I finally got to this point where I'm not taking, because I was still taking plaquenil, my vitamins, and lisinopril, but a very low dosage of all of that, just like as a maintenance to keep my lupus at bay. So that worked for a while, but of course, anybody who has lupus should know by now that stress triggers everything with us. And I am a thinker. I've always been a thinker. Ask anybody that knows me, I think and overthink, and I'm borderline OCD. I like things organized. I like what I like, and I like it the way I like it. And if I don't, if something goes wrong, I start stressing. So I was told that I was in remission in 2000 and somewhere between 2009 and 2010. And I was in remission from that point all the way till 2013. And it seems like April is a magical month for me for some reason, because around that time, 2013, I was right after my car accident. I went to work and I had a really bad stomach ache to the point where I was like bent over, and I was only one there because I was a key holder, so I had to work that day by myself. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, well, this ain't let up. It's been going on all day long. Let me take my ass to the hospital to figure out what's going on. Get to the hospital. And I did on the way home because I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And I was like, I'm just going to go. They're going to probably say, oh, something, give me some pills or something for it and send me on my way. And that's what I was expecting to happen because I was in remission. To my knowledge, I was in remission. So I had no reason to think anything otherwise. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, guys. I'm so winded, and I apologize because I know it's going to get on somebody's nerves. Well, she's breathing so hard, but listen, honey, I'm winded. Fast forward after running all the tests, and let me tell you something. That particular doctor was a complete a-hole. Like, I have RSV. No, what is it? RBS? No, RBF. I have RBF. Like, my face is this. This is my normal face. If I'm not talking or if I'm not cracking up laughing, that's the face you get. So, and I'm kind of a quiet person and I keep to myself. So the doctor told people that I was depressed and I didn't say depression because I'm like, I'm not depressed. This is just how I look. And then how do you expect me to look when I'm in the hospital because my stomach is hurting? Like, makes sense, dude. Make it make sense. So he comes back after all the tests and he's like, oh, your kidneys are failing again. So, I immediately, well, no, let me not say again, because the first kidney biopsy was because they wanted to see if it was affecting my kidneys. But this was when they told me that my kidneys were failing. And I was like, I freaked out. I'm not gonna lie, I freaked out. I started bawling. I called my boyfriend and I'm like, this is what's going on. And he came to the hospital and he tried to make it better as best as he could. But I knew he was scared too because I was scared. So they did another kidney biopsy, gave me a cycle of the Cytoxin again. And I was in the hospital for a little bit, and then they sent me home and sent me back to my doctors to finish doing what I thought was going to be another additional 5 cycles because that's what we did the first time. I went back to my doctors. They did my numbers. They said that first dose of the Cytoxin was good enough so that they felt comfortable enough to just put me back on the CellCept because I wasn't taking the CellCept. So they put me back on the CellCept and I was back on my pills again. And I was so sad about it because I was like, I want to be in remission. And it's like I'm starting from scratch all over again to get to that point again. So yeah, if you're out there and you have lupus and you've been stressing, just don't. It's not worth it because stress equals flares. No stress equals, to me, remission. So that's the mindset I have now. So fast forward to like 2015, my doctors approached me and they were like, you know, you're back in remission again. Your bounce back is good. Da, 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 whatever. They want to do a lupus research study with me. And of course I agree, because I figure, you know, God forbid if one day I don't make it because of my lupus or complications from lupus, at least I took the opportunity to donate my blood in hopes that they find some type of cure for us lupus out here. So I did that for almost a year, going back and forth. I did it mainly for that, but then it also didn't help that, you know, I didn't have to pay for my doctor's visits for that year. So that was a plus on my end. Plus I got paid to do it. My main focus, because I didn't know, you know, the latter part. He just asked me did I want to participate, to maybe possibly be a part of finding a cure, and I was all for it, because I'm like, shit, we could find a cure and I could stop having these relapses. Sorry about that. My dogs decided to freak me the freak out by looking off into this, and I'm supposed to be the only one here. So I did the lupus research for a year and I was in remission. And then I realized that even though I was in remission, I was still having these, I don't want to say flares, because it really wasn't flares. I started still having joint pain, still having swelling in my feet, which I still have. And just other stuff that I was just like, okay. So winded. And I think I'm going to have to split this video into 2 parts. But, so at this point, after the lupus research, I moved to Atlanta, and although my lupus was more under control because the weather up here is not as hot as Miami, and heat was another factor for me, I decided to try being vegetarian for a year, just to see how it would make me feel, if it would make a difference. Because through my research, I realized that doctors don't tell you everything that you should and shouldn't be eating necessarily, and it's not kind of their fault. I guess it kind of falls on us to you know, ask for a nutritionist, or ask, okay, well, what food should I be avoiding? And they don't always know that, and they don't always, you know, they just say, you know, watch your sodium intake, and, you know, basic stuff that they probably tell every single patient. So I did my research and I realized like red meats wasn't good for me, among other things. Garlic, unfortunately, but I still ain't figured out how to let that go fully yet. But I did vegetarian for 6, 7, 8. I did it for 9 months. Come on. I did it for 9 months, and at the 9-month mark, my sister had previously did 1 month of being vegan. And I got a little curious, and everybody kept saying, watch What the Health on Facebook. Thank you, Facebook people who decided to ruin cheese for me forever in my life, because after watching that, and I have a weak stomach, I can't, and I'm a thinker, I can't consciously eat cheese knowing the process of how it goes from the damn cow to the shelf and what could possibly be in the cheese. So I said, okay, fine. My fiance convinced me, and he was like, well, let's try for a month, because you're still in pain even though you gave up meat. You're still in pain, you still have the occasional pain. Let's try being vegan for a month and see what happens. I did it for a month. And unfortunately for my taste buds, that shit worked, man. And a little part of me was like, I hope it doesn't work, because I still want to eat my cheese. But then a big part of me was like, I hope it works, because I'm tired of being in pain. And although, like I said, I still have pain, because even though I've been a vegan from that point, although I still have pain, that shit worked. I'm not in as much pain as I was before. So I had to give up cheese, because at that point I had given up everything: meat, seafood. The only thing, I had been stopped drinking milk years before I even thought about being vegan for the year. So the only thing that yeah, that's what I got to moisturize my scalp. But the only thing that I was still eating that wasn't vegan was cheese. So I wish I would have had a cheese pizza one last time before I watched What the Health, because even after I was like, I'm gonna have one, and I couldn't do it because I just kept thinking about What the Health and what I saw, and I was like, I can't do it, it's just gross. So yeah, fast forward to now. I've been vegan for going on 2 years now. I've been in remission since 2016. I did have a little health scare the other day, but it was mainly because I was dehydrated, so that had absolutely nothing to do with my lupus. The only complaint that I still have is my feet, but I'll discuss that in the vlogs, because I have some vlogs I need to upload. But I talked about that. So if you guys are experiencing any type of foot pain and you have lupus and you know of something that you can do, or that you do that, alleviates that, let me know. This video is way longer than I thought it was, but then that's me trying to cram. And I know I probably missed some stuff in there, but that's just me trying to cram in my lupus journey from 2003 all the way up to now, 2019. So yeah, there's a lot more in there. And if you guys are interested in hearing any of the crazy stories that I encountered through my journey, because there's been times when I go to the emergency room and I don't know, I know people have gone to the emergency room, but you see some crazy shit in emergency rooms. So yeah. And I'm still winded. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here. I appreciate anybody who has actually made it to this point, and listening to my story, my journey, because that's really cool. That means that you think I'm interesting enough and my story was interesting enough to listen to the entire thing. So I appreciate you guys if you made it to the end of this video. If you like me, if you like my story, if you're interested in just seeing my journey, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel and show me love. And if you have any questions, definitely questions, because I feel like I've had lupus long enough where I know enough to be able to share my experience and maybe possibly help out some people. And if I can at least do that, then that means I have helped put back a little more positive energy into this world, so there's that. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video and my story, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next video. Bye.